everyone, Sam here. Today I'm doing an updated video on the Behringer XR18, and as you may have seen, I did another video on this a little over a year ago, and well, that video was quite awful, honestly. So if you watched that video, thank you, but this one will be much better and more in depth. So with that, let's get into it. Okay, so one of the first things that I want to show you guys is your ability to use a case like this. Now, as you can see, the board is only about right here where these handles are, and then it's got this power bank on top. And now I'll show you guys the inside of here right now, so you can see that there's multiple inputs or outlets available for us to plug in just about anything. So you can plug in a couple extension cords and then route that to a Shure or a Sennheiser wireless rack, and then you also have the ability to plug in your router directly into this, so everything stays combined into one thing. Now, you don't necessarily need something this big. The person I'm borrowing this from, I used to contract for their company, and Michael, thank you so much for letting me borrow this for this video. But you don't need a huge Pelican or SKB case like this. The board is pretty small, so you could rack it or mount it into a smaller version of this, and I'm sure you can find a smaller power bank as well that will allow you to do exactly what I just mentioned. So what's really cool about this is your ability to bring it to wherever you want to bring it to. It's sturdy, and nothing's going to happen to your board inside of this, and it also has the front and the back to keep it all protected. So if you did a lot of traveling gigs, this is definitely something to consider. Maybe you want to get a smaller one. I think this is actually the biggest one they have. They have 4 of these Behringers, and I was hoping to get the smaller one, but I think this is the biggest one that they have mounted, probably because of this insane power bank here, which shows you all of your voltage levels and other things. So I just wanted to show you guys what's possible with this board and how you're able to mount it into cases like this to use if you do a lot of traveling. Okay, so starting here on the face of the Behringer, we can see we have all of our inputs and outputs. On the top, or well, the midsection here, we have 16 inputs as well as an additional 2 inputs, which allows us a total of 18 inputs. So the 16 inputs are XLR as well as 1/4 inch, while inputs 17 and 18 are only 1/4 inch. So what I usually tend to do with inputs 17 and 18 is use this dual 1/4 inch to headphone jack or 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch, and use this as my music out. And I'll go further into that connection or into this connection when we touch on the XR app in my next video, as this video is going to be a quick overview of the hardware itself. So next you can see inputs 1 and 2 say high Z. So you might be asking, what are those? What does that mean? So, well, typically when you have an instrument like a guitar or a bass, you would take your cable, your instrument cable here, and you would plug that into a DI box, and then take the XLR out and plug that into the board. Now, the reason why you would do such a thing is because of the impedance level of that instrument. So the DI box will actually convert that into a lower impedance load, so the mixer can handle it. Okay, so the high Z inputs allows you to forget about the DI box altogether, and you can plug your instrument directly into the board itself, but only on inputs 1 and 2. So depending on how you like to set up your mix, you can either plug the electric guitar or bass directly into the board, or route them through a DI box or an amp. Now, down on the bottom we have our aux ends 1 through 6, and also our main left and right. So for the aux ends, this is what will be used for monitor wedges or in-ears, or to an external recording device such as a Zoom H6. We also have the headphone jack next to that, but I think you all have an understanding of what that's used for. Okay, so going back to the top, we have the control or connection center. Now, some of you may be wondering where the faders are on this board, and well, I hate to break it to you, but they don't exist. All right. So now I don't know the reason why they don't, but since they're not here, we'll have to use a tablet such as this Samsung right here, or even a computer, or even using the X-Touch control surface to actually do our mixing. So in the top left, we have our Ethernet input, Wi-Fi network, and the access point, which is the built-in Wi-Fi. And now, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing special about this Ethernet input, so any Cat5 or Cat6 cable will do you just fine. Now, you also have two options here when it comes to the Ethernet, and that's your ability to connect to a router, or you can simply connect directly to your computer without the use of a router. Now, for me personally, I haven't gone the computer route, and have only used a router like this one. And now I'll go further into the Ethernet connection to router in the XR app video. But all you need is a simple router like this Belkin, which will cost you somewhere, around, I don't know, somewhere in the ballpark of $25 to $40. Okay, next we have the Wi-Fi. So if you wanted to use the Wi-Fi client feature, you can toggle this switch over right here. And what it does is it allows you to connect to any available network. So if you have a specific network in the venue you're working in, all you would need to do is connect to it inside the app. Are you kidding? Then we have the access point, which actually turns this board into its own Wi-Fi network using this antenna right here and the built-in Wi-Fi chip. So we can create our own network, grab our tablet, set it up in the app, and then you're able to connect into the board using that feature. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when it comes to the fact that this board is solid metal and you choose to use the built-in Wi-Fi, your reach is most likely to be limited. So depending on how far you're wanting to be from the board, you could run into some connectivity issues. And before we continue, I just want you to be aware that if you do choose to use the built-in Wi-Fi or make this its own network, you do run a chance of having additional issues when it comes to high interference areas. And firstly, that's because everyone and their grandmother has a cell phone these days. And the second reason would be, if you live in a larger city. So the best way to overcome this issue is to use the Ethernet connection with your router. Okay, so moving over, after that we have a MIDI in and MIDI out. So if you want to plug a musical instrument in, you can do so. And then moving over next to that, we have the USB. And what's super cool about this port is that when you plug into this, you now have an 18 in and 18 out user interface. And if you're a PC builder or user like me, just a reminder that you will need to install a driver to allow that interface to work, whereas on Macs they already have those installed. Okay, then onto the Ultranet. Now just so you're aware, this isn't a normal Cat5 input. You will need a shielded Cat5 cable to plug into this port. Now, I don't have that cable available, so I won't be able to show you that, but I'm sure you can easily find one online or at a local store. So once you have that, you can plug the other end of the shielded cable into any Ultranet enabled series as an output to monitor your mix. Now, personally for me, I've never used that feature because I would always monitor my mix through a recording device such as a Zoom H6, but it's always nice to have that feature available if you wanted to use it. Well, alright everyone, so that's my brief overview of this board and all the features it includes on the hardware itself. Now, there's lots of cool features available for you when it comes to your events, and definitely something to, definitely something easy to carry around if, if you don't have a huge case like this one. So, I'll be diving deep into the XR app in my next video. Well, I'll actually be running some audio through this and showing you guys what you can do and how to set it all up. So, if you made it to the end here, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video valuable in any way, please consider subscribing, as I do plan on doing more videos in regards to audio, lighting, microphones, cameras, lenses, PCs, all that different kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that world and that kind of information, please consider subscribing. So once again, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.